Hello, everyone. Welcome to our next episode of Expert Discussions. Today, we are lucky to have with us Bente Busch. So, Bente, welcome to this discussion today. And why don't you kick it off by introducing yourself?
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me. I am currently working at Telenor, the largest telecommunications company in Norway, which also has branches in Sweden and other Nordic and also international countries, as you probably know. I haven't been here for that long. I started in December, but I have a background from both digitalization and data and internal platforms from several other companies, both in government sector in Norway and also been in telco before, been in media. So I have been in many different industries, but the digitalization and data has been part of my journey for the past 18 or so years.
That's great. Awesome journey you have, Bente. So, thanks a lot. It's our pleasure that you are here for today's discussion. Bente, Sid and I, what we are doing, we are focusing on championing, establishing data as the fourth pillar, my meaning that you give it a strategic importance. And that's the key focus of the book. But one of the things that Sid and I have experienced through our experiences with many enterprises, that even though there's a lot of buzz and activities around data, somehow the senior management and the top view level, they kind of delegate it downwards. One of the reasons we feel that they do not see the value or understand more quantified value of the nature. They, at a high level, they see that data is valuable for their business, but what exactly is the value delivered for their business initiatives? And that challenge or lack of that value understanding makes them feel, oh, it's a technical issue, it's a not a business issue. I, as a board member or CEO, should not find time myself in investing in that part. What's your experience, Bente, working in a large global setup like Telenor, which is also local, but as you said, presence is multiple countries? How do you see that playing up at Telenor?
Well, I think currently with the fast development within I think the attention in both the management and I assume also in the boardroom is quite high on getting some value from AI, but it can tend towards being more hype driven than actually value driven. And there's a lot of value to be captured also with more traditional methods of analysis or machine learning or other techniques. So being too focused on AI in itself can be dangerous. But I think that sort of helps the attention to also talk about data quality, for example. Data quality is important, otherwise the AI will also get garbage on the other side. So yeah, I think there's good and bad things about the current hype.
And do you feel that your management or the team at the management level generally able to connect that data is a key reason of success or failure for AI, or they are very much engrossed upon just the AI topic and then feel, okay, data is, as you said, garbage in, garbage out. Let's let that garbage cleaning process be taken by someone else. I should be more focused on AI. How do you see that?
Well, there's probably some ideas, maybe dreams or illusions, I don't know, about how AI can also fix bad data quality, for example. I haven't seen any good cases around that, but maybe that's a possibility, if not now, but maybe in the future. But I still think the AI will be more efficient and come with better output faster if we have good data quality and good data management practices. I actually presented to the Norwegian management last week how we should go about to both increase the speed from data to we get value from it, and that we need to do some fundamental changes to actually improve the data quality. We gathered some statements from around in the organization to see where are the pain points, and there's actually quite a lot. And I think those examples resonated with the management team. So yeah, maybe that could be an approach to get the attention, and then the story of these pain points lead to us not coming fast enough to the market, or not addressing the right customers with the right offerings, etc.
Yeah, very well said. And Bente, I think quality is very important for data, but in our book, what we have actually proposed a three-dimensional framework of quality, compliance, and speed. Because, and that's what we call the QCS framework, because any business initiative or AI initiative not only needs that quality of data, like you rightly said, but it must be compliant for a large company or even telco company, not only external compliance like GDPR or EU Act, but also internal compliance rules like a company like Telenor will have. And then third part of the thing is the speed, because a data that if you need an hour old or real time, if you just get a 1 day old data, then it becomes of no use, right? So we feel QCS, all three are important. And the key challenge for large companies that you will have different use cases needing different levels of QCS. So it's just not a one size fits all. So developing that understanding is a challenge and then executing to it. And that also gives you the visibility that you are able to make a right investments, because if your use cases are on the medium level of QCS, if you invest for just high, then you might be over investing, or if you're investing for low, you might be under investing. So that's a key framework. And then from a value understanding and communication perspective, we have derived three parameters as well, which we call the total addressable value for data. It's what that use of data is bringing value to that use case, right, as a business case perspective. And then total is like a TAM, but then what is the expected addressable value? Because every use case will have a journey to it. It might be multi-year or take some time to arrive at all. So what is the expected value? And then how much value has been realized? So all this value equation then helps you to take that point to the management and say, okay, this is the value that is the total expected. This is what we are addressing right now, and this is what you have realized. That forms your foundation to ask for investment and showcase to the management, okay, this is what exactly we are doing in the data pillar or within the data initiative.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think also addressing not only quality, as you say, but also the speed and
The compliance.
uh, compliance. Thank you. That's very, very important. And as you say, they don't necessarily have the same levers in all different use cases.
Exactly. Maybe
When
Sid,
it
you
comes
can.
to value, though, I think it's really hard to specify exactly the contribution of data. You need so many things in order to deliver on a certain business case. There's the people and competence, there's the platforms and the market and competition, and also then you have data in there. So how do you
Yeah.
measure exactly that one contribution? I would find that difficult, but if you have a framework for it, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and that's what we have attempted in the book. And like as you said, it's not data alone, and hence we call the fourth pillar, it is people, processes, technology, and data. And these all interplay together to achieve your business outcomes, right? So one way it may not be just smart to just say segregate it. We don't do it for people. Okay, what is the value of the people, or what is the value of the technology, or the value of the process? So why to do it for data, right? So you try to uh, see where all data is involved and contributing the value. And but we discuss further in the book and detailed it out, right?
Yeah, excellent points, Bente. I mean, just to bring in the other side of the coin, because in the introduction you've mentioned Telenor is a multinational company and organization. So there is also the cultural aspect to this, right? So how do you ensure that data, for example, being generated in Norway, I'm just giving out an example, is shared with the other entities in Nordics or internationally? And I know that you've embarked a journey which we've also touched on the book around data products and how a federated approach could be leveraged Could you explain that a bit more, how that journey has evolved at Telenor?
Yeah, sure. So, as for the multinational collaboration within data, there's not a lot of sharing in between countries. On the financial level, there's an ambition to align
Mm.
definitions, but within the different business units, we don't share a lot of data, but we try to collaborate when it comes to the platforms, tools, technologies, because they basically scale and can be used by anyone. And also on some of the frameworks, for example, data as a product, and how we approach governance, for example. But there's also some regional differences that influence our technology strategy or our go-to-market strategy, which will we need to allow for some variety also in that. But it's always good to have peers to discuss with in this journey.
Exactly. And we've seen this pattern where, like, the data office acts as the gluing pin between these federated entities, right? Because as you said, the federated entities all require some local specifics, but there are also often some common frameworks, whether it's data, whether it's metadata, whether it's data quality, as you've talked about quite a lot. There could be a lot of reuse of, if not the actual data, but the behind the scenes metadata or the data quality or the governance, like, aspects of that. So is that how you are also seeing things evolve at Telenor in that federated approach?
Yes, to some extent, but we also need to have some speed and agility to test and experience things in the different countries. Since we are quite early in this data as a product
Right.
development, then we don't know exactly what it's going to look like when it's done, but to test things out in the different countries rather than having one centralized unit deciding and making the framework for everyone. That will, again, go back to the speed
Absolutely.
is the best approach, we think.
Absolutely. Just to share our perspectives here, Bente, and I think we are kind of aligned. We see different enterprises, of course, having different operating models. Some might have a very completely decentralized approach. Some might have some kind of a federation. Now, that level of federation can vary, how much is centralized, how much is localized. And there could be enterprises who are also looking at a highly centralized approach. But the crux, what we are looking at, is all of them require, as Sujay and you have mentioned, the people, process, and technology to come together to support this kind of data, what we call as a data operating model. And we also have recommended a data as a product or a data products approach. But to support that, what we feel is strongly important is kind of two aspects. One is what we call an enterprise knowledge graph, which contains all the information about your organization, the key processes, the key stakeholders, etc. So that is kind of like your metadata brain, if you want to call that, connected. And of course, linked to that should be some critical, what we call as a data foundation block, basically meaning they are reusable, either data, master data, reference data, etc. That can be kind of uh, to some extent used in the data products on the top, right? So then each centralized or federated entity can build further, data products which are ideally much more facing business related use cases. So just to give you a glimpse, and of course behind all this sits your raw data, which could be, structured, unstructured, external business partner related data, which feeds it.
Mm.
Yeah. Awesome, Bente. So, and how do you think all this, you have been, the Telenor journey has been carrying for quite some time, right? And how do you see the company has evolved and how the journey has gone through? Because all this focus on value from data, and you have this value stream, data value stream, it will not happen in one day, and it needs to be a continuous journey. How do you see it has evolved? And if the journey is long, then there must be a strong commitment as well. Otherwise, questions might be asked: Are we on the right path? Should we be continuing? Is this just a black hole where we are just pouring in money without seeing outcome? So how do you see that evolving? What has been the foundation to actually begin the journey? And what are the, it's like when you go for a hiking, you see some landmarks. Okay, we are on the right path, right? We should continue that. What guidelines or markers you have put in to check and see whether you're on the right path of the journey? So some insights would be really good.
Yeah, I haven't been with the company for that long, as I mentioned. So a lot of the history is what I've learned over time. Um, but I think Telenor in general comes from being a strong sales-driven organization. So there's two big sales entities which are directed to the consumer market and the business market. And there's been a division between the business and the IT, where IT has mostly been one, operations of all the systems that we have, and two, projects for developing new things. And then there's been a journey towards connecting the business and IT people closer together to get more cross-functional teams, to get up the speed and agility in development, funding teams permanently rather than projects where the funding disappears and you don't have people left, etc. Um, so that's happened in digitalization, and then I think the data is now moving after. So traditionally, the data has been a data warehouse and not just one, really, which is common for large organizations, especially where there's been acquisitions along the way. So I think started probably a couple of years ago to reduce the complexity and move into cloud for the data that regulation-wise can be in a public cloud solution. And for the funding, that's actually quite a happy case because it's cheaper once we remove a lot of the traditional licensed softwares and databases. I'm not going to mention any names, but you probably know them. They're a lot more expensive than pay-as-you-go solutions in public cloud. And also the footprint in terms of people, the people managing a public cloud that's modernized. You need actually a bit fewer people than you do to operate the more rigid traditional softwares. So it hasn't been that difficult to get the funding and acceptance in that way. So you get a lot better tooling and it's a lot cheaper. So that's a happy case. So I think the most difficult communication is rather to go for the decentralized model. And we believe that's super important to continue getting the agility and speed because we see that the people in the middle, the centralized data teams, become bottlenecks. They don't have the context from the data sources. They don't have the context completely from the data users or consumers. So we need to take those out and get consumers and producers to talk to each other more directly and for everyone to think of their data as products that can have value for someone else. So that's a journey we are now embarking on, so both the technical modernization and the whole shift of going towards a more decentralized model.
Yeah. And Ali said, so, and in a decentralized model, Bentley, I think you're doing that within Telenor. Self-service also becomes important because they can't come to a central theme. You will become the bottleneck, like you said. So, how
Yeah.
we have framed the maturity journey in our book to establish data as a core pillar is that you start with all the foundations. Maybe you've been there, done that. And then the next phase is that to have the scaling part of it where focus is on self-service. So, all your decentralized units are able to use, and that means you need to have the technology infrastructure ready, the processes to enable self-service, but in a governed manner, right? Because you operate, again, remembering our QC as the compliance part of it, you need to operate in a governed manner. And then the people who will execute that. So, And once you have achieved that self-service is when you can move to an automated stage where there's a lot about AI agents and everything. And if AI agents have to operate in your data operating model, then everything has to be a self-service manner, right? So that's where we talk about three phases of maturity in our book, from a fundamental to a scaled and to a automated stage. And listening to you, I get a feeling that you're mostly now moving from a foundational stage to the your scaling stage, right? And enabling self-service.
Yes, I think you're right. And I would also argue for not building too many things before
Yeah.
starting to mature, rather having MVP of, for example, the data catalog, MVP of the governance, MVP of everything, and then rather build more complexity and maturity as you learn and get feedback on what works or not, because not everything is going to be completely the same in every company. So you can get inspiration and you can test things out, but then again, you have to find something that really works for your business.
Exactly. You need to have that agility, right? And the key challenge is to maintain that balance between demand and supply. Because all these supply components, like you said, the technology, the processes, if it's not there, demand can't be met, and then demand will be frustrated, right? And on the other side, if you just build up a big solution of supply, and if there is no demand, then you will be over investing and people will be frustrated. So that's the key challenge to continuing that journey, right?
Mm,
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to summarize, I think this has been a great conversation, Bente. So I think we are very much aligned on our principles behind how we've also written the frameworks in the book and what you are seeing in a few months in Telenor. If I kind of zoom out, because I also want to tap in a bit into your wider experience. So, of course, you have shared quite some things about Telenor, but also around your decades of experience on the data aspect. How do you see data evolving in that journey that you have seen from when you started to where it is now? Of course, we are seeing a lot of evolvement happening from a technology standpoint. Technology is continuously evolving, but do you still see the same happening from a business standpoint? Do you think business is seeing the value? And the reason I ask this question, one of the key focus of Sujay and me to write this book is also to bring data as a fourth pillar, meaning bring it into the eyes of the executives in the enterprise.
I think from once I started working in the data domain, there's been somewhat of a separation between software development and data analytics, business intelligence professions. And those groups of people traditionally haven't talked very well together. They think of the world in different ways. And I think over those years, data has been adopting some of the practices from software development with agile, more code-based versioning, sort of ensuring quality, ensuring you can roll back. Um, and I think that's also necessary because now data is becoming, the analytical data is increasingly becoming part of the application stack. You get
Right.
machine learning models, the scoring, you get AI, etc., which is highly operational. It's not just analytics and operational separate. Um, and I think also the profession of data will maybe be watered out somewhat more. You don't get the same competence or the only focusing on data without sort of understanding the whole application
Mm.
space. So that's one. But I think also there is something important that the software development also needs to understand with data because it's constant. You need to have the history. You need to see trends. You can't just have the current state of things. And so there's something to be learned both ways.
No, it's
It was
great
a
points.
bit of a long answer, but
No, that was really good. I mean, actually made me think while you say that, and you made some really good points about the data and the application world coming together as well, which we see as well. So thanks a lot, Bente. I mean, this has been a great conversation. Just wanted to get your opinion as well of what you've heard so far from us about the book and the core concept. Would love your feedback and thoughts initially on our book.
of course, I'll have to read it in order to give proper feedback, but I'm intrigued. I would like to read it. I think also it makes perfect sense to get more attention on data, although data is also part of the other three pillars.
Yes.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I'm excited to be reading it once it gets out.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Bente.
Thank you, Bente.
So
Looking forward to this.
how can, because this has been a great conversation and I'm sure our viewers would like to get in touch with you to know more about Telenor, but also know about your experiences in this area. So how can our viewers reach out to you? What is the best mechanism?
Yeah, sure. I think both LinkedIn, I'm pretty easy to find there, Bente Busch, and also you may email me at my company email, bente.busch@telenor.no.
Awesome. I
Great.
really appreciate it, Bente. Thanks so much for your time and more also importantly your insights. This was a great discussion. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, and again, best of luck with the book.
Thank you, Bente. Thank you.
Thank you.